Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. You think you know military history. You've probably heard of the M1 Garand and the AK-47, but what about the guns that didn't make the history books?
Imagine giants of the battlefield, rifles so lethal they absolutely dominated combat. Yet today, they're all but forgotten. These 7 battle rifles were lost in the smoke of history, totally overshadowed by the more famous guns. Each one has a story of raw power and battlefield innovation, stretching from the muddy trenches of World War I right up to tense Cold War standoffs. In this video, we are digging up 7 battle rifles that were deadly in action but completely vanished from memory. We'll hit their full names, their secret histories, and why they were so dangerous. So lock and load, folks. We're taking a journey into the past.
The U.S. 1917 Enfield, officially United States Rifle Cal 30 model of 1917, was a heavy bolt-action battle rifle born for World War I. It was actually an American conversion of the British pattern 1914 Enfield rifle, rechambered for the powerful 30-06 Springfield round. When America entered the Great War, 2 million of these rifles poured out of Remington, Winchester, and Eddystone arsenals. By war's end, the M1917 was the primary rifle of the American Expeditionary Forces in Europe, outnumbering the famed 1903 Springfield. It packed the same killer 30-06 ball as the Springfield, delivered from a robust 6-shot magazine and fired up to 2,800 feet per second. The M1917 was built like a tank, nearly 10 pounds of solid walnut and steel, earning a reputation for rock-solid reliability. In fact, a Danish Arctic patrol still uses an M1917 today because it performs reliably in Arctic conditions. The design work began with Britain's Pattern 13 Enfield prototype, but when World War I erupted, the U.S. simply modified the American-made P-14 rifles to fire 30-06. This quick fix meant doughboys hit the trenches fully armed. The M1917 even featured a folding volley fire sight for massed shooting on early models, later removed for simplicity. With its dual-lug Mauser-style bolt and aperture rear sights, it was accurate out to 500-plus yards and could spot targets farther still. In World War I's brutal trench warfare, the M1917's heavy 30-06 bullet and sturdy action gave American soldiers a ferocious edge. It could volley dozens of rounds into no man's land and survive mud and cold that might jam other rifles. Audie Murphy's legend aside, Sergeant Alvin York in 1918 used an M1917 to deadly effect, testament to its stopping power. In short, where the Springfield was elegant but finicky, the M1917 was pure infantry workhorse. Why it was forgotten? After World War I, the U.S. Army quickly returned to the M1903 Springfield and then the M1 Garand. Millions of surplus M1917 rifles were sold off or sporterized for hunting. Unlike the M1 Garand's iconic legacy, the M1917 faded from popular memory. By World War II, it was largely a museum piece, a footnote to history books. Today, few remember that it won World War I for the U.S., even though it numerically outperformed the Springfield in 1917-18.
The FG-42 was Nazi Germany's secret weapon for airborne troopers. Designed in 1942 for Fallschirmjäger paratroopers, this was a selective-fire 7.92 by 57mm Mauser rifle, as deadly as a machine gun, yet shoulder-fired. Only about 7,000 were ever made, but each was a marvel. Its inline, straight-pull layout helped tame recoil, placing the stock, receiver, and barrel almost in one straight line. With a 20-round side-mounted magazine, bipod, and advanced muzzle brake, an FG-42 could pour out rapid fire, semi or full auto, while remaining surprisingly controllable. The top of its receiver even had dovetails for a quick-release telescopic scope, a nod to its dual role as rifle and sniper weapon. The Luftwaffe wanted one rifle to replace a parachute trooper's rifle, carbine, and even light machine gun. Louis Stange's FG-42 met that need with a select-fire action and fixed 20-round magazine, later 10 rounds, firing from a closed bolt in semi-auto. Its exceptional precision machining and sheet metal receiver made it both lightweight and rugged. Paratroopers loved the FG-42's firepower. It had a 600-meter effective range and fired a strong 7.92mm round as fast as 500 RPM on full auto. In combat, the FG-42 was a beast. It combined the firepower of an LMG with the mobility of a rifle. A single paratrooper with an FG-42 could sweep a field in seconds. Its muzzle device and recoil system kept muzzle rise in check, at the cost of a huge muzzle blast, and the high-capacity mag meant sustained fire. Ironically, because it could shoot so fast, an over-enthusiastic trigger squeeze could empty its 20-round mag almost instantly, a testament to its power. In the hands of a trained squad leader or sniper, the FG-42 was devastating at mid-range. The FG-42's very excellence was its curse. It was complex and expensive to build, so only thousands were issued to elite paratroopers. After World War II, Germany's defeat and the dawn of cheaper assault rifles, like the STG-44, rendered the FG-42 obsolete. Its unique role vanished with the German Air Force's fall. Post-war, NATO EMIs had no use for a 7.9mm select-fire oddball, and only a few guns remained as curiosities. Today, the FG-42 is mostly remembered by collectors, its full war potential largely overshadowed by guns more famous to history.
The SVT-40, the Red Army's first mass-produced semi-automatic battle rifle. Chambered in the full-power 7.62 by 54mm cartridge, it was intended as the Soviet replacement for the old Mosin-Nagant bolt-action. Between 1938 and 45, about 1.6 million SVT-3840 rifles were made. Early in World War II, the SVT-40 was already in wide use. By the time of the German invasion in 1941, tables called for roughly one-third of a rifle company's arms to be SVT semi-autos. In battle, a soldier with an SVT-40 could snap off aimed follow-up shots far faster than a Mosin man, a real shock against enemy assault rifles. It had a 10-round detachable box mag, reloadable by stripper clips, and a gas-operated, short-stroke piston design similar to the later FNA FAU. A sniper variant with a PU telescopic sight was also fielded. Developed from the World War I-era Simonov AVS-36, the SVT-40 was thinner and lighter. It featured a one-piece wooden stock with a spring-loaded detachable mag and an open-top receiver for easy clip loading. Importantly, the SVT-40 locked its bolt by 2 lugs and fired from a closed bolt, reducing lock time. It was gas-adjustable and included cleaning tools under the barrel. At launch in July 1940, it was destined to be the standard infantry rifle. However, Barbarossa's onslaught changed plans. As millions of SVTs were lost in 1941, Soviet factories refocused on simpler Mosin rifles. By late 1941, production of the SVT-40 fell off sharply. On its day, the SVT-40 was a formidable weapon. Its gas system gave near Garand-like semi-auto firepower with a heavier Russian round. In winter war tests, it could punch 7.62 by 54 bullets over 2,700 feet per second, similar to a Mosin. This meant deadly accuracy out to 500+ meters, and with its detachable mag, a well-drilled soldier could fire 10 rounds much faster than a bolt action with clips. German troops even captured and studied SVTs. Their gas piston mechanism later informed Germany's Gewehr 43 rifle. Despite its promise, the SVT-40 was a victim of its time. Many rifles were destroyed or captured early in the war. It proved relatively fragile. Reports cite cracked stocks and fouling-prone gas ports in harsh conditions. Mass production was expensive and complex, so after 1942 the Soviets returned to Mosins and finally to simpler SKS carbines and AK-47s. Thus, the SVT-40's service was essentially limited to the early war period. By the Cold War, it was obsolete, largely replaced in service. Today, except for enthusiasts, few recall the SVT-40's name. It lies overshadowed by the Mosin's legend and the AK's fame, making it one of history's what might have been rifles. By 1943, Germany had finally retooled for semi-auto rifles. The Gewehr 43, or G43, built by Walther and later Mauser, was this effort's result. Unlike its earlier Gewehr 41 predecessors, which used unreliable gas traps, the G43 employed a modern short-stroke gas piston very much like the Soviet SVT-40's design. First issued in late 1943 as the K43, it fed from 10-round detachable box magazines or via standard clips, and it came in a sniper variant with the ZF-4 scope. The G43 proved to be a significant improvement. About 400,000 were produced by war's end. It fired Germany's full-power 7.92mm round, giving Wehrmacht troops faster follow-up shots than bolt-action Mausers. German officers hoped the G43 would augment their infantry. It incorporated late war lessons, a gas piston above the barrel, copied from captured SVTs, simplified stamped parts, and an open receiver cover for quick reloads. It still had the Mauser claw extractor from early designs, and it locked up with a single lug. In the field, a soldier could top up its 10-shot mag in under a second, a huge improvement over the K98K. On the Eastern Front in 1944, the G43 saw action alongside STG-44 assault rifles and MG-34-42 machine guns. It was among the last gas-powered battle rifles of the war. The G43 gave German infantry a lot more firepower. Each rifleman with a G43 could unleash 10 rounds in rapid succession with sniper-level accuracy. One veteran noted it was far more easily loaded with a fresh magazine. In many respects, I prefer it to a Garand, a rare compliment. In battle, the G43's muzzle blast was fierce, but its rifled accuracy at 300 to 400 meters was excellent. As an infantryman's rifle, it was quite deadly in capable hands. The end of World War II spelled the G43's fate. Post-war, only a few remained in limited use, some even in East Germany's early army, but the world moved on to newer designs. The Gewehr 43 was never made in peacetime quantities, and unlike the Garand or SKS, it never served in NATO or Warsaw Pact armies. Thus, it slipped out of memory. Today, it's mostly known to collectors and historians, rather than the general public. Another powerful war rifle lost to history after its brief time in the sun.
In the early 1950s, Britain nearly fielded a bullpup battle rifle decades ahead of its time. The EM2, or Rifle No. 9 Mark I, was a British prototype chambered in a new .280 British cartridge. It was selective fire, semi-auto or full auto, and moved the action and magazine behind the trigger, one of the world's first true bullpups. The EM2 was so advanced that it was briefly officially adopted in 1951, intended as NATO's standard rifle. It had an integral scope mount and even came with an optical sight as standard. After trials, only 55 EM2 rifles were ever built, including a few later rechambered for the NATO .308 round in a last-ditch effort. British designers aimed to leapfrog the Garand and SKS. The EM2's gas system was based on the German G43, but it used a long-stroke piston and a flapper locking principle. Uniquely, the EM2 would automatically lock open on an empty magazine and would automatically close the bolt when a fresh magazine was inserted, features unheard of at the time. Its tiny dot sight, non-magnified, was meant to allow faster target acquisition than iron sights. In testing, the .280 British rounds gave it impressive balance. An expert shooter found the EM2 gives an excellent balance of power and recoil impulse and is very comfortable in semi-auto fire. Early paratrooper versions even added a folded bipod. In its brief moment, the EM2 had all the makings of a killer rifle. It packed nearly as much power as a .308 NATO, but in a lighter cartridge. The bullpup layout gave soldiers a full-length barrel in a shorter package, allowing more space for velocity without a longer rifle. The rifle's balance and recoil impulse were reported superb, letting a soldier put rounds on target quickly. It was so lethal and futuristic that historian Ian McCallum calls it the best Cold War battle rifle that never was. Politics snuffed out the EM2. Despite its promise, the U.S. insisted NATO stick with 7.62 times 51 millimeters. By 1957, Britain dumped the EM2 in favor of the American FAL or L1A1. With only 55 ever made, it faded away, a rifle without a battle to prove itself in. Today, the EM2 survives mainly as a legend among gun nerds, a breathtaking concept rifle that was too advanced for its time, erased by Cold War standardization.
Post-WW2, Czechoslovakia developed its own semi-auto service rifle called the VZ52. Introduced in 1952, it fired a unique 7.62 by 45 millimeter, which is distinct from Soviet rounds. About 1 million were produced by 1959. The VZ52 featured a forward-tilting bolt action, opposite to most rifles. In fact, unlike a Garand that locks rearward, the VZ52's 2 bolt lugs tipped down and forward to lock the chamber. It also famously borrowed a trigger mechanism from the US M1 Garand. The rifle had a wood stock with an integral folding spike bayonet, and it accepted detachable 10-round magazines as well as rifle clips. The VZ52 was a true Cold War rifle. It saw action with Warsaw Pact and other armies in many 1950s-60s conflicts, from Vietnam to the Middle East. Its 7.62 by 45 round was powerful. A VZ52 shot at about 2,450 feet per second solo, giving it an effective range of 600+ meters. Soldiers appreciated its light recoil and handy size, about 9 pounds without bayonet. For infantry in its day, the VZ52 was formidable. It delivered full-sized round power in semi-auto, providing more firepower than the bolt actions its enemies often had. In jungle or city fighting, a capable soldier could empty a 10-round magazine faster than he could bolt reload a Karabiner 98K or early AK. Its quick aiming sighting system and one-piece stock made it quite accurate for a semi-auto. Essentially, it brought modern firepower to any skirmish where it appeared, an edge that could be deadly. The rifle's downfall was politics. In 1957, the Soviet Union demanded Warsaw Pact standardization on the 7.62 by 39 millimeter round. Czechoslovakia complied by rechambering existing VZ52 rifles to 7.62 by 39, creating the VZ52/57 variant. This and the introduction of the lighter VZ58 rifle soon replaced the original. By the 1960s, the VZ52 was being phased out. Outside specialist circles, the VZ52 is rarely mentioned today. Few know this sleek Czech battle rifle once carried a uniquely powerful cartridge, its story eclipsed by the ubiquity of the AK-47.
Each of these 7 rifles was a remarkable weapon in their day, packing more power and innovation than most of their more famous peers. But war moves fast, and their designs were either ahead of their time or overtaken by politics and changing needs. Whatever the reason, history cast them aside, forgotten by many, yet deadly in their moment. We've barely scratched the surface of their stories here. Which forgotten rifle surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below. And if this journey into lost firepower intrigued you, give us a like and subscribe for more hidden history of warfare. Thanks for watching, and stay armed with knowledge.